Yeah.
Steve Lookner, Mandel, and we drove them out. Dave and I, here's something like, you helped me early in my life. I'm sure you don't even realize this, but I never gave a regard or I don't give a care.
I don't give no regard.
I don't give no regard. I never really cared about, I cared, but I never had like any barometer of other people's feelings and what I would say entering a room and how it would affect what was going on. And you and I were hired at SNL at the same time. You were hired as a writer. I was a feature performer and a writer. Mm-hmm. And you were the guy, like, to me, you were upper echelon, top shelf comic. Like, you were the Belvedere. And I was just like the rot gut whiskey that, like, it'll do. But I would complain to you about sketches getting cut and, like, my update didn't cut with not even for a moment's notice realizing, like, well, I'm sure you would have loved to have been in a position to be submitted for sketches and cut. And I remember I would complain to you a lot, and it boiled up to a point where I had Muggsy Bogues, that little tiny fella.
Yeah.
He signed a basketball for me, and you, me, and Sarah went to Stand Up New York, and someone broke into your car.
Yeah.
And I kept going, my basketball. I was a Muggsy Bogues. And eventually you just fucking snapped. I know you don't remember this.
No, go ahead.
On Broadway in like 77, they go, what about my fucking car? My fucking car is broken. And
that car was a great car, though.
you were like but you were early in my life of going, oh, there's like other people on this earth and I should be a little more aware of their feelings. Maybe don't complain to the guy that would like to be a featured performer how shitty it is when your update gets cut when he's not available to get submitted for update.
You know, I never really talk about like SNL, and I'll only talk about it with you because like people always ask you what was it like, and I always go, well, you know, was it difficult, you know, getting a sketch on and blah blah blah. I have to say it was probably one of the most worst years of my life, and a lot of it had to do with like I was just at the point in my comedy where thank you, yeah, please, there's a touch up, please. We're drinking coffee over here, by the way, where like I was just like becoming a good comic, and like, you know, that feeling like when you're no longer like afraid to say and do things on stage, and then you take all that great new courage and you go to this kind of corporate, weird, like, you know, class system of comedy. But what I will say, summing up the whole year, was that like I admired you because you walked in there with not only, I know for you and a lot of other people, this was your dream to be on the show. For me, not so much, but for you guys, it was your dream. And that you guys walked in there and you stood up to the big players and said, like, you know, what about me? I was brought in here. I got the tap. This is my chance. And you fought for your right to do stuff, and you delivered the goods. I can say that I did not deliver good sketches or anything like that. I didn't know how to write them. All the talk about, like, oh, you'll learn and all that kind of stuff. No, it was super competitive. We're up against these Harvard guys who were really they weren't evil or anything like that, but they were very clicky and good at doing this.
Now that you're away from the show,
I'm so glad
don't you find you really like those Harvard guys?
I never wake up going like, I wonder what they're up to.
No, but if I see them on a plane, I'm like, hey, I have no resentment towards you whatsoever, and I'm genuinely happy to see you now.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen Dave Mandel, and I've seen all of them, all of them at some point. But I'm always in the same situation where, like, they can still judge me. You know, it sucks. It's like I'm not the.
It does feel that way. And then I just had this epiphany the other night. I was laying in bed, and we just talked about SNL on a podcast, and I realized on Thursday night in the rewrite room, when you're just sitting there and you have to stay till like 5, you would leave and do spots. You'd go down to the cellar, you'd go, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and then you'd come back 4 hours later with $200 cash.
No, I really, but I couldn't give up the stand-up.
They did. I always felt like they were judging us as like these rogue, like, what are they doing here? We're like writers from Harvard type guys. And I'm not, if this is possible to truly understand as a listener, I'm not at all saying that in a bad way. Mm-hmm. These were not, like you said, these aren't evil guys. They're good guys.
No, they were very smart and they knew.
But at the end of the day, you went to fucking Harvard. What are you doing in a room with me splicing jokes?
Well,
I barely got out of high school, and me and you were in the same room in our 20s figuring out what to name a high school in the Charlton Heston sketch.
Exactly.
Should we name it Central? Too urban. Should we say George Washington High School? Too generic. Like, you'd go round and round for 2 hours, and I'm like, you guys went to Harvard. Isn't there like some fucking schematic for naming high schools that they taught you?
Well, it all became
at the Skull and Crossbones.
Yeah, it's like a huge pissing contest of like who can like verbally dick slap the other guy or like, just cerebrally like, donkey punch the other guy with like more knowledge and, like pithy bullshit. And thank God for Twitter because that's like where that stuff goes now.
Yeah.
But like if you and me and like two other comics were writing a sketch, we'd be done in about 45 minutes with dick and porn stories in there too. And like these guys, they would drag it out all night long to the point of where it's like, it's ridiculous. I don't find the idea funny anymore.
I figured out why. I put it in my book.
Why?
They had nothing else, and they lived at home.
Yeah, they loved.
You and I like girls.
Yeah, want to go
out. We
out.
like to drink, and we like to make people laugh. They're going to go home to their comic books or like, something. They have TiVo. I don't know, whatever was going on back then. And I realized, oh my God, like this is the penthouse suite to them. Whereas you and I, it was like a very much a mill. Like this is where I work. Like, where's my hard hat? Let's get after it.
That's so funny because they felt so at home on that floor. And for us, it would have been a club. Like, like if we had wrote it all at a club, like after the show, it would have been way cooler and more fun,
Don't you feel now, do you look at SNL ever and go, wow, right now, if I was on the writing staff, A, I could probably be head writer, and B, I could probably get 2 sketches on a week. It's so, like the formula in your mind, now that you're not stressed out having to write shit, do you find yourself writing sketches, like just driving, going, God, that'd be funny?
That's a really good question because I said to myself years later, but I wish I had the balls to say it the minute I was fired from there or not asked back or whatever, which is how they do it in television. You're not asked back. They don't fire you.
They need another 2 years.
It's not like, Sanchez, get off of that I-beam. You're out of here. No, it's like, it's not working out. They give you this such sissy thing. But, no, I'll tell you one thing, Jay.
Sanchez, get off of that I-beam.
Yeah, get off the dock loader. I'm sorry, you and your family are deported. Or you're deported and your family. So anyway, no, I never think about, I wish I had said back then, which is that like learning how to write for yourself is the hardest thing. And the ability to write for other people is like a whole other skill. But as a comic, you're a comic, I'm a comic. It's like being able to write for yourself and come up with new and original stuff. That's enough writing for me. Like I never go like, oh, I wish I was a great sketch writer because, it's just not my thing. But I do think that generationally, it's way better there now than it is.
Do you think of sketches in your everyday life that you go, I totally could have gotten this on? It's something that's never left me. Like that show. Imagine, it's like Nom.
I don't know.
You don't really think about it?
I never really think about I do think about how politically correct it is there now in terms of the sketches, but it is way cooler there to women now, and it's way cooler there to like just everybody seems to be more fun looking on the outside, but I've never been back there. I've never like gone back or anything like that. So
I haven't either.
I mean, I do warm up for the show. Come on, guys, keep it going.
Yes. Remember they used to send Norm would go out and do warm up.
Yes.
And then he would just bring out Farley, and Farley would just like wave, and the place. It was like AC/DC came on stage in Sydney, Australia. Like they went crazy. He would just go, "How you doing, everybody?"
He was one of the first people I ever met in comedy who was like funny all the time,
Farley,
but sad most of the time.
Farley,
yeah, he was like really funny. Like he could turn it on like in a second, but then his sadness would be there. But I was so far away from his inner loop.
He's like a walking Springsteen song.
Yeah,
like he could have actually been on the river. I'm not even joking. I'm being completely serious. Like a guy, Farley's a guy, and my son's like this. This like. Whoever he meets, for some reason, he fills whatever hole that person has. Mm-hmm. He's this incredibly sating human, like this magical baby. I just know that's one of David Tell's most favorite comedy words is the word baby. But like Farley was a guy, whatever ails you, he just seemed to be this panacea, whether it was like whatever he fulfilled in Spade, whatever he fulfilled in Fred Wolf, you and me paid him $100 to take a shit out the window.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was the best $100 ever. That was before like dares and like whatever stunts or something,
And there's things he did in that room that we can't say in the podcast.
True.
But there was a Hustler magazine open, and
he shot a nice
put out.
We'll be right back.
We put out Hubba Bubba Gum, and he said he started touching himself to the magazine. I don't remember this. We said, if you finish across these pieces of gum. Do you remember that?
Well, now we see it as a cry for help, but back then it was a great time killer.
Yeah. In
hindsight,
being 20, 40, 20. You and I, when I said we went mad, it was really weird because you and I are from two different, I would say two completely different schools of comedy. That is, like, I've always been like the hack from way back. Like, I just want everyone to laugh at all times. And if I got to do, if I got to have sex with the stool or like whatever it is. And you were always a guy, Miller-esque in your ability to cobble together like the most, to me, watching you, the most fascinating words. Like your recipe for hobo chili on your DVD.
Oh, thanks.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember the bits.
It was something like, I'll get some shoe leather and onion and make you some hobo chili. How about, but like just hobo chili and the ingredients, to me, you're always like Dennis Miller-esque in your ability to pull words that my brain just completely doesn't work like your brain worked. But we were put together in this bizarre situation, and I don't think either one of us really thought when we first met in comedy clubs that we'd wind up being like good friends.
Yeah.
Like, I love you.
No, I'll tell you what I really appreciate about you the most, and this is not a stroke festival, although
although they'll say it is on Twitter.
Yeah, but what
was that all about?
Because you know what, you went into a weird situation where you were outgunned, outnumbered, and you stood up for yourself, and you did that many times over and over and over. And whereas the rest of us, the new people of that situation, were like, okay, whatever, I guess that's the situation, and like secretly inside, we were like, what is this all about? I mean, they want us here, but they totally tune us out. And that's not fair to everybody there, because Sandler, who's always been good to me, I've known him since college, and like Spade, and there's a few other people who were really nice, but it's so competitive in that kind of a situation. So I can only imagine for you, who we all everybody starting in comedy, we were like, Jay is definitely going to be a star, he's going to be in movies and all this kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, you were, everybody, I'm not going to bring up management or anything, but everybody's like, Jay will definitely be a star. And working at the Boston Comedy Club, going on after Hamburger and T-Bone and, Shawshank.
Chicken.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of had to hack it up a bit just to stand, to fucking hold your ground. And you did.
The Puerto Ricans would run you into the ground.
Exactly. That was definitely the buzz station of comedy. That's for sure.
Don't you think the Boston comedy, and those are mind-blowing compliments to hear from somebody.
But those are all true. I would not say it if it wasn't true.
I've never heard you say bullshit anybody in your life, so.
No, I do, but I would not bullshit you on that, because that is one thing I really admire.
No, you don't understand.
I admire that about you, honestly.
Thank
I have
you.
always done.
I will say this. I will take credit for one thing about myself. I'll never leave the field without taking one last fucking swing.
Good.
And that's cost me work too.
Yeah, I know. I'm
on
sure
my way out. Like I've napalmed fucking villages on my way out, going, I know the fight's over, but I'm gonna knock out the referee on my way to the locker room.
Well, like when you did
like Keitlinger and you,
yeah,
and Sarah and Norm and me. I think we were all the people at once, right?
No, I was there with Sarah, Norm, and then Keitlinger came the year after, and then it was Janine and all those people.
The second year, yeah, all right.
Yeah. I was only there for a year.
That's
Thank
right.
God. I was like,
you did two updates.
Such a defeat, like for my family and my managers and everything like that. And I was like, 6 months later, I was like, I'm glad I'm not there. Like, I feel so much better.
Is it better? Is it like in sports? Like you'd rather get blown out 40-0 than lose at the buzzer?
See,
I'd rather just burn out in 1 year and get out of there.
Jay, you and I are so different because you grew up in sports and racing and all that kind of shit. So winning was an option. I'm from sad Jews in retail. Losing, being a good loser was that was great how you shook the hands of the other guy.
It's almost British, only in England.
Yeah, it's drive cloudy. The other guy to the fucking fuck party,
Yeah.
So it was not that big a deal. But I know for a lot of you guys.
I'll wait here for when you're done fucking.
Norm was the guy who totally played that place they fucking were in awe of Norm, because we know he's a magical comic.
He's a savant, but there's something about Norm. He is. When I look at him on television, I always remark he really looks, and he doesn't get credit for this. He's an alarmingly handsome guy.
Yes.
But you forget, because he's so funny and so strangely funny at times, that he's 1950s movie star handsome. Mm-hmm. And when he walks into a room and just starts smiling a little, and kind of starts to tell a story, he's got this knack to get everybody to just all hands on deck. You could hear a pin drop when he started telling a story.
Yeah, they really were like in awe of his, because he brought something new to the SNL thing, like his timing, his just like take was something they hadn't seen, and like everybody had their little like departmentalized. This is what I do, and I'm this guy, and I'm the put your weed in it, and that kind of. So he brought like this whole new thing, and you could tell like anybody else, like chimps at a zoo, they're all like seeing who's like the head chimp.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that there, which is all really a waste of time. When you think about it, every TV show, it's like everybody should be like fucking glad that they're not out digging a fucking ditch.
Yeah.
And that is immediately lost on these people. They're like, this guy got a laugh, so I'm not going to laugh at his next joke. Otherwise, he's going to move up this chain of fucking, hilarious. You know what I'm talking about?